Welcome to Discussions in the Afterlife. I'm Jim.
I'm Colleen.
Today's topic is, what is it that scares some people in the afterlife?
Yes, and today we have some stories of our early days of visiting different homes and some of the fears that we've recorded. We also have some recent comments that we got on recorders from our own homes coming from our group members.
Correct. We're going to start back in the very early days. We used to go to a house we called Forgedale. And we really were just starting to learn how to do this, how to talk, how to listen and talk to dead people. And we were marching around the place. We had always put recorders in the kitchen, because kitchens are the busiest place in any house. And then you were carrying a recorder this one particular day. We marched around the house just like we did every week for maybe a year. And we always went into the basement, always went upstairs every Wednesday for about a year. One particular Wednesday, we were in Forgedale, and you're in front of us. You start down the cellar steps with the recorder. I'm right behind you. You get your head just below the ceiling height, and you turn and you look at me, and just like touched your nose, like to indicate how bad the stink was. I get down 2 more steps, and I also realize the stink that was in that basement was just unbelievable. The only way I can describe it is a truckload of dead animals in the sun for 3 months.
With a sulfur mix.
Yes, it was absolutely awful.
It was bad. And we didn't talk. We always tried not to talk during this as we walked around the house with recorders because we didn't want to contaminate our recording, right? So we would look at each other and like hold our nose or, to indicate, wow, it smells so bad down here.
We did. And then right at the bottom of the steps, we take a last gasp. We run through this completely empty basement down at the far end. We look around the corner just to make sure there is not a body, and race back up to the first floor where we could breathe again.
That's right. And that smell never came up the steps and filtered into that space above
Correct.
The basement. Like it just stayed.
It just stopped right there at the ceiling height, and it didn't come all the way up the stairwell.
And that's when you and I, we were flabbergasted really about this smell. We'd never smelled anything like it. And we went out and we got our other ghosty friend, Nancy, and we had her come in. And she couldn't smell it. Do you remember?
It was gone.
It was gone. The basement was cleared. How'd that smell go away so fast?
Right. So this subject came up again maybe 10 years later when I was down in Panama in my house there. I was doing a study where I had put recorders around the house in particular strategic locations. And I talked to the invisible people that are hanging out with all of us. Each one of us has a group of these people. Well, that's who Colleen and I talked to, our group members. And I asked them about that stink many years before in the basement of Forgedale. And they finally tell us they created it. At one point, they say Keith and Polly made most of the stink, that Keith's a pirate. So they created that because there was a thing in the basement, not a person. If there was a person, they would have used the word person, but they in particular used the word thing that scared them. And they were so worried about you and I that they used that stink to chase us up to the first floor to get us away from that thing.
Right. What a smart way to get somebody to run away from danger without knowing it was danger.
Absolutely.
So then we were working in a house that we called Hilbert. And do you remember that man in the basement that said that he was scared of the people on the first floor?
Yeah, he would only talk to you. He didn't want to talk to me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But he had that fear that he admitted on the first floor. And every week that we went over there, we would go down to the basement and speak with this man. And at one point, the people on the first floor that scared him also scared you and I. They slammed that basement door. We talked about that in an earlier video, but yes, that man was petrified of the people on the first floor. So there's fear amongst them. The invisible people are scared of each other at certain points too. And at my house in Panama, I sarcastically say, "Oh, I'm sure you know what the afterlife is all about." I'm saying that to those invisible people. And a man replies, "Jimmy, don't scare me." And I think he was being sarcastic as well. And then at another time, I suggest that coming back to the physical, it isn't for everyone to come back as a human like we have. And a man at the steps comes out and says, "I am scared."
So it is a scary transition to either die. People are scared to die.
Mhm.
Other people are scared to be reborn into this physical world.
Right.
So transitions are always kind of scary, I think. So one day I was doing a study here at this house, and as I started the recorders, a man was heard just randomly saying, "I'm scared, how about you?" As if he was saying that to someone right beside him. And you know, that study, I actually sat down wanting to ask questions about our father because he had passed by then. So these are the questions that I asked. How has my father improved his condition with the group in the afterlife? Because he was having some trouble with that. And a woman near the powder room said, "He's scared of you." And another man who was upstairs said, "What's the plan? I got the luck." And a girl who sounds a little scared said, "I'm only 17.
That is the worst pickup line we have ever recorded from these people in the afterlife. What's the plan? I got the luck. Hitting on a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So, and then also someone made a comment in a prior study that asked my questions are leading the death trap. So I asked, why are they leading the death trap? And a man said, "Oh, scared of you, Colleen."
Some of them are really scared to answer the questions that we pose to them. Because if they answer them wrong or give us too much information, they're in a world of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yes,
we've
they are.
heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then for no reason really, during another study, a woman that was upstairs said, "Angels are assholes." And it was followed by someone else saying, pretty sarcastically, "Oh yeah, we get good protection."
But of course, this opens the subject of angels. So I take up the issue down in Panama, asking about angels, and I ask, "What are angels a help or a hindrance?" A man in the bedroom says, "Never get that close, Jim." A man at the steps, "Please don't say anything. They'll take everything." These people are scared of angels. A man downstairs says, "They like to steal valuables. They also like to serve." All right, well, at least we got a little bit of a positive thing going on with these angels. Another guy over in the spare room about angels, "They make the day louder." And I hate noise, so that would really...
Right? They're just banging and clanging around.
It must be. The following study, because of course we don't hear any of this in real time. We have to download the recorders and and listen to everything. So the following study, after hearing all that, I ask, "What are angels doing?" And a man in the bedrooms, "They help the children," and things like that. So there is a little something positive.
So maybe there's good angels and bad angels.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the study, a woman tells someone downstairs, "When you come back, don't bring angels." Don't bring those angels around. They're
She
trouble.
must have had a bad experience with an angel.
Absolutely.
So then I asked, on the subject of angels, in this house, I asked, "What are the angels' names?" And a man at the step said, "Colleen, you don't ask that." So I kind of got a scolding from
Yes, you did.
somebody for asking.
Yes, there's a lot of fear in the afterlife held by some people. Not necessarily everybody, but there are people that are scared to respond to our questions. There are things in the afterlife that scare them into worrying about us humans, because we're their charges. They're in charge of us. They're in charge of keeping us safe, and that's what they did that one time in Forgedale to keep us safe. And there's that poor fella in the basement of Hilbert who is just scared of his invisible neighbors. They're mistreating him, and he has to retreat to the basement to get away from them. So there you have it. There's a lot of work to do, both here as living as a human and also in the afterlife. And there's another thing, you have to subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. I had to slip that in there. Please subscribe. Please thumbs up, share this, get it out there so we can get this train rolling. Thanks for visiting with us, and we're going to do this again next week. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for listening.